Thank you for everybody joining today. I want to quickly go through a few examples of defining done and start out with some common challenges and kind of why it would be important to do this. Now, I'm going to apply this to both a agile and a non-agile team. They're very, very similar in terms of how you use them. So I'll cover both in the presentation. The picture on the diagram, the yellow picture, is basically a team flow of work. We have the backlog, which is the requirements of the project, which could be called user stories in the agile world or requirements in a non-agile world. Typical release planning. Then if they're doing agile, they're doing a sprint or iteration planning for that block of time. They go through their activities, which are typically IT. It could involve coding, putting an IT solution together, and they arrive at test and then go through a demonstration, the sprint review, and then a retrospective. And the question really is are we done? And what happens if we're actually not done and we find there are many things after the fact that have to be kind of wrapped up? So a couple of symptoms to note, look out for. Work is incomplete and many tasks slip into the next iteration. The downside of this is it becomes a snowball effect, that a few things at the beginning slip and then they get duplicated and slip again in the next one and so forth. And so if we don't have a good definition of done towards the beginning of the project, then that can really kind of multiply over time as more and more things slip by the wayside. When you hear a team define done, if you say, are we done yet? And they say, well, no, we're not done, but we need to define done. The more times you hear people refer to a second definition of done, that would indicate that they have a problem with the first definition of done. So if they say they're done and then you find out after the fact that they're actually not done yet, then you really want to fix the initial definition versus just kind of pasting on top of that extra definitions of done and then really not knowing in the end what the word done actually means. From a project customer and a project budget and user perspective, it can lead to a lot of underestimation where people are either overcommitting or cutting corners because they have to get to a demo point or a release point. And again, that can lead to many issues downstream in terms of field defects, rework time, repair time, and overall view of the whole team and their capability. So a lot of the downstream symptoms that people may see of a team can really be addressed by having a clear picture of the steps they go through and then revising those over time. So I've broken up done into three categories here. And they think of it like a big checklist that has three sections to it. And the idea is to detect issues early on as you go through the iteration of the project. And there'll be 3 points in time where you'll typically look at the word done overall. So the combination of these three will be the final definition of done, but there'll be three sections. You can make it a little bit easier to navigate as we go through. Now, if you are on a non-agile team, all you're really doing is removing the item 2 there, the iteration sprint. So a non-agile team would have a beginning and an end, and an agile team would have these incremental deliveries or demos along the way every 2 to 4 weeks. So what you could do is take the same information from the presentation and then basically merge 2 and 3 together. So the checklist for iteration sprint done kind of goes away, but it gets kind of wrapped into or rolled into release done. So the items are going to be standard no matter what. But if you are doing agile, typically you're going to have a 3-point view of the checklist. So here we have our first version. This is a user story done. So if you're doing any kind of project of IT, even hardware or software, you want to make sure the things you're building from a functional feature perspective are gonna done. And so we have a little red arrow here to kind of point where we would do this check, the first part of the checklist. Now I'm going to go through some standard examples of what you would have in the list, and then suggest that you're going to obviously modify and tweak the list over time given your history and your experience in your projects. So we have design code and test cases peer-reviewed for defects. So any kind of team would have some kind of requirements, maybe do some kind of design or architecture activity. If it's coding, they're doing the coding. If it's IT, they may be doing some configuration files, and they'll be doing some kind of test case planning or test planning. All those things should really be looked at from another pair of eyes or a peer review. And that could be one key part of the done definition. Because if you don't do that, or a team doesn't do that, they're allowing for the potential for a lot more defects to end up at the end, and therefore a lot more kind of work and a lot more issues with having the thing done and completed out. So looking at the project, we could declare we're kind of done with the sprint or the release or that requirement if we have at least done some peer reviews of our work along the way to find mistakes. Then if we're doing coding, code is checked in versus sitting on the developer's desk. Sitting on the developer's desk can lead to problems of the wrong versions being picked up, the user having the wrong versions installed. So that would be a part of the done definition. Are we really going to using a CM system to check in something and manage versions? Then the user story or requirement test cases are passed. Obviously, we're the blue arrow, so the red arrow here in the diagram. So we don't want to call ourselves done with the work unless the test cases have actually passed correctly. That would be a part of the criteria. All these activities of peer reviews and test cases will then generate defects, which is okay at this point. We're very early on in the cycle. So we need to have a way to make sure those get resolved out. Now, resolve could mean fixed and resolve could mean deferred. You may decide some defects don't need to be fixed right now, but they need to be resolved in like a status, as you know what's going to happen to them over time. User stories and design are updated. So really good teams don't just kind of learn a bunch of things and then code and then demo, and then whatever they learn, they kind of lose. They could be learnings about the requirements being better clarified. Like at the way we built it and tested it, we learn the requirement should be this way versus that way. And there could be some learnings about the design. We designed it a particular way, but when we got into the implementation, we modified the design to be more effective or faster or better performance. So there could be quite a little bit of updates required to the definitions of the projects, for example, requirements and design, and that update will be part of our done definition. Otherwise, we have this out of date definition of what we actually did, and then in 3 or 4 months' time, it's difficult to know what the system is actually doing. User documentation defined or updated. Now, this is one of those items you may decide to push downstream towards a release point. So you could do it incrementally, and basically going to get ahead of the game and say, well, the user guide for this feature or set of features will be defined now, and get a draft going of that. Or you may decide that we plan for that activity later on. So that could be one you can pick up and move. And then if you're doing Agile or even a project entering a release phase, there would be some kind of demonstration that the system actually works. So I would say the black items there, the bullet points, are the first round.
Hi there, hope you enjoyed that last clip. My name is Michael Maludis, and if you'd like to watch the full 60 minutes of that last webcast, while also gaining complete unlimited access to our entire library of IT learning, simply visit our subscribe page at greatpro.org/subscribe. Unlimited annual access is $199 per year, but if you use the coupon code LEARN to earn, you can drop that membership fee to just $149. That's less than $13 per month for unlimited access to over 1,000 hours of on-demand career development, covering the entire spectrum of IT management best practices, including business analysis and requirements, software development, quality and testing, risk management, process improvement, project management, and even digital transformation. But your membership doesn't just give you unlimited access to our vast learning library. You also get free access to our mobile app, as well as direct access to our network of over 300 of the world's leading IT consultants, all of whom are dedicated to putting practical knowledge at your fingertips so that you can learn more and earn more. I hope you will join me in becoming a member of the Great IT Professional and advancing your career with us. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button above so that you get notified whenever we publish new free webcasts each week of the year. Thank you for your time and best wishes for your continued success.